Sony's latest and greatest, the WH-1000XM5, sells for $399. Should you save yourself 50 bucks and get the XM4 instead? The choice really comes down to three key areas, especially if you travel or you commute with them. I've owned the XM4 for about 2 years now, and I've lived and worked and traveled with the XM5 for a few months. This is a review of the XM5, but I'll call out the differences between that and the XM4 so you can decide if newer really means better for you. The first key area, especially for travelers, is how well does each travel? I'll talk about durability in a second, but if you're traveling, the case is crucial. Now, I love the way this one feels in its design. It's protective, it has space to store my cables, plus a bit more. Plus, I really like just the feel of the fabric on the outside. But unlike the XM4, the XM5 doesn't fold, so its case is bigger, a lot bigger. And it took up a ton more space in my bag. When empty, the case collapses, but not really all that much. On a scale of 1 to 5, I give this one a 3, really. I love the design, but not for travel. Moving on to durability. When I first tried these at the store, I was honestly worried that they break in no time. They feel light, they're delicate, their headband is thin, and it does this wobbling thing, and the plastic along the sides, it just felt like non-existent, especially the slider here. It just felt like it was gonna fall off. I was wrong. The XM5s have been almost entirely redesigned now and have an even more minimalist and stealthy look than the XM4s, which I absolutely adore. And they're at least as durable as the XM4, so you can wear either around your neck all day, no problem. The soft touch plastic from the XM4 is still here. I love that Sony basically made these out of recycled plastics from cars, something called ABS. ABS is an acoustic material, so it helps with the sound, the noise canceling, and it can be recycled after you're ready to replace a product. This opens up the door to the next key difference, comfort. The XM5 and the XM4 feel drastically different. In the XM5, pads are a bit stiffer than in the XM4, which make them feel a bit thinner. They're not as squishy either. There's a new vegan leatherette that feels a bit rubbery. Now, I found them cooler to wear than the XM4's ear pads, and as someone with bigger ears, I found them more comfortable to wear for long periods for that reason. There's less surface contact with my ears with the XM5. The ear pads are replaceable, although I haven't found any aftermarket replacement kits yet for the XM5. I do love the way that the new leatherette feels on the headband when I hold it. Now, it's not quite as soft as the XM4's, but you know, it does feel nice to hold. It does dig a little bit into my head, but I am balding, so if you have hair, that's probably not a problem for you. Now, the clamping force on the XM5, the pressure that it puts on your ears, it's just like the XM4. It's just as comfortable in the office or in an airplane, even with a change of atmospheric pressure. I've worn these for entire work days with glasses on without a problem. I think the only ones that I found as comfortable were the Bose Quiet Comfort 45, although I think I like those better because with the XM5, my ears sometimes would rub up against the foam inside the ear cup. In the gym and while hiking, these stayed in my head most of the time. They're not sweat proof, so make sure to clean them off after you're done with them. The XM5's buttons and touch controls are identical to the XM4's, which I like. Swipe controls, power and noise canceling buttons, all the same. They also have a 3.5mm audio port and a USB-C charging port. Unfortunately, it's for charging only and really can't be used for audio. These can work for up to 30 hours with music and noise canceling, 40 hours without noise canceling, which is the same as the XM4. They also have a fast charge of 3 hours in 3 minutes. The XM4 has 5 hours in 10 minutes, so I guess it's about the same. Overall, solid for things like flights and commutes, provided you're not, traveling across the world. Then you'll need like an extra battery or something. And yes, the XM4 and the XM5 all have on-ear detection. So if you take them off, the headphones will auto-pause your music and all the functions, which saves battery, then shuts off after a few minutes. All in all, I like what Sony has done here with the XM5. Still, if I'm going to score this, 4 out of 5 for comfort, 4 out of 5 for battery, 4 out of 5 for build, and 5 out of 5 for design. The third key point overall in the choice between the XM5 and the XM4 really comes down to value, whether the XM5's improvements are really worth the extra cost. Let's start with the XM5's noise canceling, which is an upgrade to the XM4's in every respect, in the air and on the ground. Take a listen. Now, I use these all the time in my kitchen and they block out the microwave, the dishwasher, the coffee maker, all going at the same time. One big difference between the XM4 and the XM5 is that with the noise canceling analysis, on the XM5 it happens on the fly. It adapts to your situation, and sometimes I would notice that the XM5 would start recalibrating, meaning that the noises outside would get louder for a bit and then quiet again. This was really noticeable in things like airplanes and cafes. On the XM4, you have to press the noise canceling button, you hold it for a few seconds, and then it adjusts to the situation around you, including atmospheric pressure. Speaking of pressure, the cabin pressure effect was about the same on both of these. It wasn't bad. I really wasn't experiencing much of it, unless, of course, there wasn't any noise outside or they weren't playing any music. In those cases, then it would bother me a little bit, but that's a rare situation that would happen. Either way, you can use the app to determine how much noise canceling actually happens and how much noise you actually let in, and whether you should focus on voice, meaning that the headphones will try to block sound outside the vocal range. Again, the XM5 is way better at that than the XM4. My only complaint is that sound from the outside sounds a little bit more robotic in the ambient modes. It's better than the XM4, but a far cry from something like the Clarity or the AirPods Max. I still think that those set the standard when it comes to that. Finally, there's also an adaptive mode that changes the noise canceling and level of noise canceling for wherever you're at or whatever you're doing, but I found this to be a lot more annoying than useful, so I just turned it off. All in all, my score is a 5 out of 5 for noise canceling, best in class and an improvement over the XM4, especially at higher frequencies, meaning that more voices were blocked if I didn't want them. So now, when it comes to the sound, look, this goes for the XM4 and the XM5 equally. A lot of people are fine with the sound. Some of my favorite YouTubers and reviewers absolutely love it. But frankly, I hate the default tuning on the XM5, and the same thing goes for the XM4. It's just not my thing. That's not to say that they sound bad. It's fine for a lot of pop music and rock, I guess, but when you start listening to acoustic music like folk music or classical, it just flops, it just dies. Now, mind you, the default tuning on the XM5 is better than the XM4, but it's still not great. I made a video that explains what's happening with the sound and shows you exactly how to fix it using the equalizer Sony includes with their headphones app. Link above my head and in the description below, and at the end of the video, because frankly, it's that important. Along with that equalizer, Sony brings back all the tricks from the XM4 to tailor sound better to your ear with the XM5. These include doing that ear analysis that sets up their 360 spatial sound personalization for the 360 reality audio. That's where you take a picture of your ear, you send it to them, they figure out what sounds best, and they reprogram your headphones for your head. This can be used with a few music services like Deezer and Tidal, as well as some Sony TVs. Now, I've never gotten much value from the spatial audio with music, but with TVs, it's fantastic. These also, by the way, do Dolby Atmos, so if you're interested in that, here you go. By the way, if you use Spotify, you can use the app to set these up to automatically start the last thing you played by clicking the ANC button 2 or 3 times. There was a huge wasted opportunity here though, because Spotify is the only programmable option you can set up. It would have been great to be able to pick something else like Tidal or Deezer, you know, something you can actually use the 360 reality audio with, or your smart assistant, because the default smart assistant is Alexa, and I'm just not a fan. There's also the Sony DSEE Extreme, which upscales compressed music files for better sound. Yes, music does sound better with it on, although it does drain the battery life faster. Finally, a quick technical note on both the XM4 and the XM5. They handle the SBC, AAC, and Sony's LDAC codec. Now, if you are on any recent Android version, LDAC will give you the best sound without a doubt. For iPhone users, your default will be the AAC format, which sounds good, but it's just not LDAC good. The app lets you know which codec is being used at the time. So overall, scoring this at a 4 out of 5, I don't like the default tuning, but I really like everything you can do to personalize your sound, and I enjoy listening to these. I like the XM5 slightly better than the XM4, but unless you're doing a side-to-side comparison, you won't really notice a difference in sound. Now, for phone calls, these were okay. Microphone quality has never been the strong point for the Sony XM1000 series. So either way, here's what these sound like. All right, testing the call quality on the Sony XM4. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing the call quality on the Sony XM5. Testing, 1, 2, 3. And now comparing to run-of-the-mill wired-connected earbuds. Notice the difference in sound. Overall, decent. I'm gonna just put them at a 3 out of 5. If you, like me, are of the bespectacled variety, glasses often change how we feel or even hear headphones. First and foremost, these are without a doubt among the most comfortable headphones I've ever worn with glasses. Whether in the air or on the ground, I never had an issue. The biggest issue people with glasses have with sound is that the bass will sometimes sound weaker. That's what's called bass roll-off. Now, I did not experience much of that when I was wearing these with glasses, which is common with other headphones. What this means is that your music won't lose bass if you're wearing glasses. That may depend, of course, on how thick the legs in your glasses are or how far away from your head they stick out, but with my glasses, I didn't really notice any sort of difference here. If you do, just use the EQ to bump up the bass some. Where I did notice a difference was in noise canceling. Glasses do break the seal some and additional sound does get through, especially on the XM5. The XM4 not so much, again, because of the squishy pads. This wasn't too bad, but it was noticeable in noisier environments like coffee shops and on planes. Overall, I like the XM5. They work great with glasses and I highly recommend them for that. Between the XM4 and the XM5 though, I would have to argue that the XM4 are slightly better for people wearing glasses, all other things being equal. So just like with the XM4, you can connect the XM5 to two devices at once, but you need to set this up in the app. These both use Bluetooth 5.0, so there's really no difference between the XM4 and the XM5 there. All right, for those of you who love numbers, here are my scores. What this means: 1 means I hate it, 2 means I don't like it, 3 means it's okay, 4 means that I like it, and 5 means that I love it. As you can see, the overall score for the XM5 is 4.2 out of 5, which is fantastic in my book. Meanwhile, the XM4 gets a 3.6, which isn't a bad score. So, who should get the XM5 and who should stick with the XM4? If you commute a lot and space is the most important thing, or if you can find a fantastic discount, stick with the XM4. If being super compact is not crucial, if you want the best noise canceling, if you want better microphones, if you can afford the extra $50, then yeah, go ahead and go for the XM5 and look for specials because they're already popping up. And finally, the big X factor here is comfort. The XM4 and the XM5 are very different. They feel very different, and that's all a matter of personal preference. On the whole, I do like the XM5 more. In fact, they may be my favorite headphones right now, travel or not. Now, they do have some steep competition from both the Bose Quiet Comfort 45 and the Sennheiser Momentum 4, both of which are a bit cheaper, about $50, about the price of the XM4. If you use Android devices, Sony's headphones have my highest recommendation, both of them, because of the fantastic app and their use of LDAC. If you're an iPhone user, consider the AirPods Max, although I think the XM5 are better for travel. Link to my reviews for everything that I've mentioned here in the description below. Now, if you either own the XM5 or are planning to get these, click here for a video where I show you how to get the best sound out of your Sony XM5 headphones, and click in the circle with my face on it to go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and with that, I'll see you next time.